This was inevitable. Just 3 games to go, and it's coming down to the final series of the season for the 2025 New York Mets. They're in Miami for 3 games this weekend, and although the team currently controls their playoff destiny, clinching is far from a certainty. I am Adam Choit, your host for today here on Mets Digest, and before we dig in on all that, I just want to give you guys a quick heads up, a quick reminder to please subscribe, because as you can see, nearly 68% of you guys watching these videos are not subscribed, so please take a quick second to do that. It is appreciated for sure. Let's get into it. Huge win for the Mets last night. They're, of course, still currently 1 game up on the Reds for the final wild card spot. Big win. The Reds, of course, won as well last night. Diamondbacks also still alive. Let's dig into the standings, scenarios, and what's going to be a huge baseball weekend, to say the least. Here are the current standings, as I just mentioned. Mets holding on for dear life over the Reds. Diamondbacks also hanging on for dear life, 2 games back. That's what we're looking at currently. This series in Miami is a must for us. The Mets look to handle business versus the Marlins with the playoffs on the line. That's SNY. Who wins the National League wild card? On September 1st, this is from ESPN, the Mets had a 94.5% chance of making the playoffs via Fangraphs, but after going 11-17 in August, they've gone 9-13 in September. Their collapse might not be as disastrous as Detroit's, but the Tigers also don't possess a $340 million payroll. The Mets' second-half woes have allowed the Cincinnati Reds and Arizona Diamondbacks to stay alive, and the Reds are only 12-10 in September, having just lost 2 to the Pirates. The Diamondbacks, meanwhile, were 7 games under at the trade deadline when they dealt away a bunch of their players, essentially punting on the season, and yet they're still alive, and their season is going. That's a pretty good summary of kind of where we are. Here are the clinching scenarios. If you guys want to pause the video when I pull up any of these scenario graphics, feel free to do that. That might be the best way to figure things out for yourself. But obviously, the Mets need to win baseball games. That is the plan. Win all 3 and you're in, essentially. Here's another graphic here. The scenarios if the Mets go 3-0 against the Marlins, 2-1, 1-2. What the Mets need, they'll need the Diamondbacks and the Reds to lose some baseball games, and that would be helpful too. Here's the schedule for this weekend. The Reds are in Milwaukee. That will be no easy task, and the D-backs are in San Diego. No easy task. So here's just it's gonna be a fun baseball weekend. Enjoy it. Hopefully it ends well for the Mets and they're in the playoffs. Jobs. I would think are going to be on the line this weekend. This is gives you the percentages if you want to. Let's take a look at the percentages here. The Mets current odds 78.5%. The Reds current odds to make the playoffs 19.4%, and the D-backs 2.1%. But what do those odds really mean? Because at one point the Mets were 99 whatever percent. I'm sure when they were 21 games over 500 ages ago. Here's another good graphic here. Thomas Harrigan shared this clinching scenarios. This is pretty straightforward. The scenarios the Mets will need if they go 2-1. The D-backs are eliminated. The Reds go if they're 2-1 or worse. So this is another good graphic. Let's get into some more of the stories behind where we're at. The playoff scenarios and tiebreakers. Just as a reminder, the Mets do not own the tiebreaker against the Reds. Season series is the Mets went 2-4. If they finish with identical records, the Reds would eliminate the Mets. The Mets and Diamondbacks finished their season tied 3-3, but the Diamondbacks maintain a better record against the NL West than the Mets do against the NL East. So Arizona also is the tiebreaker against the Mets. Per Fangraphs, the Mets have a 77.9% chance of making the postseason. Meanwhile, the Reds' odds are at 20%, and the D-backs are down to just 2.1%. Getting in Rich McLeod from Just Mets. 5 things to watch per Danny Abriano, SNY. It all comes down to this. The biggest start of Brandon Sproat's young career coming up shortly in about an hour or so. He'll take the mound. Who will start for the Mets on Saturday and Sunday? It was announced that Clay Holmes moments ago will be Saturday. Sunday is still TBD. Will the Mets go defense over offense and just looking deeper into some of the matchups?
Marlins starting pitching is perfectly lined up. I'll get into that momentarily. But yeah, that's a pretty good breakdown. Definitely want to check that out. Danny Abrano on SNY.com. Check out the full piece. But here's the part about the Marlins pitching, just to give us a sense what we're looking what to look for this weekend in terms of the matchup. The Marlins starting pitching is lined up perfectly. The Marlins' minuscule playoff chances were extinguished on Thursday, but they remain a tough opponent. That mainly has to do with the three pitchers they'll have towing the rubber to start these games. It will be Sandy Alcantara. Friday, the Marlins pushed him back so he could pitch in the series. Yuri Perez on Saturday, Edward Cabrera on Sunday, following a tough first half as he worked back into shape following Tommy John surgery. Alcantara has been dominant. In 7 starts since August 15, he has a 2.70 ERA in 46 2/3 innings, allowing just 30 hits. Perez has been a hit and miss. The Mets lit him up for 5 runs on August 29th as he failed to escape the first innings, but has filthy stuff. The same could be said for Cabrera, who has slowed down a bit lately. New York touched him up for 6 runs, 5 earned in 4 innings on August 30th. So that's kind of diving a little bit deeper into the matchups for this weekend. The Mets have had some success against these pitchers, but if the Reds sweep and the Mets take 2 of 3 and they lose to Alcantara tonight, just hypothetically, that would be epic disaster. So the Mets are going to have to hit, and they're going to have to play a great team game. Also, Mullins is in the lineup tonight. He has good numbers against Alcantara. So Carlos Mendoza's definitely had a look at that and is pushing that button in hopes that the team's bats will do well tonight. But yeah, we're down to the wire here. Certainly, this is what the Mets are looking at. This is for SNY Homer Simpson here, wearing a Brewers hat, holding a Padres pennant, wearing a Mets shirt. So yeah, scoreboard watching. 'Tis the season for that. Certainly, Stanek, Brooks Raley. Right, this is from Jolly_Olive. Ryan Stanek, Brooks Raley, Helsley, and Rogers and Diaz were lights out in the must-win series against Chicago. You can see here, 10 innings pitched, no earned runs, 3 walks, 4 hits, 12 strikeouts. Rotation is an issue. Maybe the bullpen can be a strength. Lots of question marks for the Mets. The team just has not played well since June 3rd. That June 13th, they've had one of the worst records in the league. They're fighting for their lives. So I don't think any Mets fans were all definitely hopeful that this weekend is going to be a successful one and there'll be playoff baseball for the team next week. But I don't think any Mets fans are going to be surprised. That's it. Like I said, it's inevitable that the team is in this situation, hanging on for dear lives. Just a few games over 500, scratching and clawing and trying to make the playoffs. And I thought this was good to share for final image here before the opening weekend of the weekend series here versus the Marlins. Positive vibes only, SNY. When any negative thoughts about how this weekend will go for the Mets attempt to creep in. That's still shot of Edwin Diaz waving his finger after the flyout to Soto last night. But let me know what you guys think. What's going to happen with the Marlins? Take 2 of 3, take 3 of 3. The Mets going to get swept, or they only lose 1. I think I just said all the scenarios. Playoffs, we're talking playoffs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and let's go Mets.